Hi everybody, today I'm talking to you about writing a CV. What we're going to do is go through a template so that whether you've already got one or you've never written one before, you can get an idea of the key information that needs to go in a CV and how you can make sure yours is as good as it possibly can be. So let's have a look at the template. Now I've got one here. Yours might look different and that's absolutely fine. There are lots and lots of different ways to write a CV and to design a CV, but I will say that generally it's a good idea to keep it as clear and as neutral as possible, especially if you're applying for jobs where CVs might be screened, sometimes by software or computer, because if it's overly designed, sometimes they might not pick up on some of the keywords that they're looking for. So generally my advice is to keep it fairly basic and just think about the words and making sure that the critical information is really clear. So let's just scroll through this. First things first, your full name. Make sure it's quite big. Make sure you put your correct contact details underneath. You don't necessarily need to put your address, but definitely an email and a mobile or a phone that they can contact you on that you know is correct. And I hopefully don't need to remind you, make sure your email is a sensible email address, nothing too bizarre. On to the, possibly I'd say the most important bit of a CV. It's this section which we call the profile. And the point of the profile is to grab the attention of the person reading it. And you do that by telling them one or two things about why you're perfect for the job and what you've got to offer. And this is the bit that is really critical to tailor, because if you don't tailor it and it says something kind of just neutral or a bit banal, or that you're great at communication, because everybody's great at communication, they're more likely to put you on the no or the possible pile. So this is where you really need to look at or think about the sorts of jobs that you're applying for and think about what it is that you need to be sort of really highlighting about your skills and experience. I've put a fairly kind of mundane thing here: enthusiastic, hardworking student looking to gain work experience through a part-time job. If you are applying to part-time jobs, you don't need to go too crazy with this bit, but you can still say some things about what it is about that particular employer that attracts you. So that's the bit to really focus on. The next section that we've got here is key skills. Now, again, if you have experience that is really relevant to the sorts of work you're going for, then you can put experience first. These things don't have to stay in this order. I've just put them in this order for this CV. But if you, for example, this is your first job, you might find it difficult to put together some experience that's relevant. So in that case, then a skills section is quite good, because you can be a little bit more adventurous with that, in the sense that you can think about things you might have learned at school or college, or maybe helping out with family and friends that you might not have had paid for work experience, but you've still gained skills and experiences in other ways. So some examples that I've got here: excellent communication skills gained through school projects and voluntary work. There's some other skills here which are generally quite transferable to most jobs, so you could use some of these, but I do recommend that if there is a particular job that you're going for, let's say you're going for customer service jobs, a really good place to look is the National Careers Service job profiles. And if you put in, for example, customer service, and it comes up with customer service assistant, and you just scroll down the page, it talks about what it takes, skills and knowledge, and it says customer service skills: to be thorough and pay attention to detail, ability to work well with others, sensitivity and understanding, patience, ability to accept criticism, verbal communication skills, active listening skills. These are all the sorts of things that you need to be including in your CV. And if you're making applications to jobs which maybe aren't advertised, so you're like handing in your CV to shops, you might not know what they're looking for, but if it's a customer service job, working behind the till in a shop, then you're, putting in some of these things, you're guaranteed to make them go, okay, they know what they're talking about. On to education. You don't have to write loads here, but make sure you include what you're currently studying. So if you're at college, or if you're still at school, GCSEs that you're currently studying, and I advise including English and maths, because that's sort of usually the baseline qualification that most employers hope that you have. And if you've already passed some things, you can put the grades that you've got in there. If you haven't yet, that's not the end of the world. But one other thing is, sometimes you might have done something as part of your course that's actually relevant to the job. So maybe you're studying, I don't know, media, and you're looking at a sort of part-time marketing role, and you've done something on marketing in your media course, then make sure you add that in, because they're not going to know what it is that you've studied, but you do, and you can think about what that might mean for them and what they need to know. Then we've got experience. Again, I keep it quite broad. You don't need to say whether it was paid for or not. Some of you might have quite a lot of volunteering experience and no paid for experience. Make sure you highlight the main role that you had, who the employer was, if there was an employer, roughly when you did it. A line or two about what you were doing, and then just pick out the key, most important elements of that role. So that might be some of the skills you gained, it might be some of the activities that you were taking part in, some of the responsibilities you had. Again, if you can, try and connect it with the job in mind. If you're one of those people that's done lots of different part-time jobs, you might want to put it in order of things that you think is most relevant. It doesn't have to be in date order. Last couple of things, interests. A couple of things on there is fine, but just saying I like hanging out with my friends is probably not worth including. But if you've got something, again, relevant, if you're going for, I don't know, a apprenticeship as a chef, and you love baking and you have a particular talent in an area of baking, then that's something definitely to mention. And last but not least, you don't need to put your referees on here. So these are the people that will vouch for you. I tend to recommend leaving them off, because otherwise, if you're sending out your CV to lots of people, they might then contact the referee before you've had a chance to let them know. And that's not ideal, because you want to prep them and let them know in advance who's going to contact them. So that's a quick summary of how to write a CV that hopefully will get you at least in front of people, because that's what a CV's aim is. It's to allow them to see on paper that you are someone that potentially could do the job. And so the absolute key thing is to make sure that you are tailoring your CV as much as possible to a specific job or a type of job. So give yours a go. If you need any help with it, as always, you can get in contact with us, and maybe also have a look at the videos which show some examples of what you might want to look for in a job advertisement when you're adapting or tailoring your CV for a specific job. Take care, guys. Bye.